Welcome back. I'm Tedward, and today we're talking about traffic because you're not going crazy. Traffic is definitely getting worse, and it's impacting more than your commute time and stress levels. It's also impacting how we operate as enthusiasts, because when the roads are flooded with all these big SUVs like I'm driving here today, we'll talk about that, it makes it less appealing to go out on fun, enthusiastic drives in your sports cars, if you even have them anymore. So first, let's get out on the road and hopefully not encounter anything too traumatic. It's a Sunday. I would be driving a more entertaining car today, but it snowed yesterday in April here in New England, and that wasn't fun. First, let's talk about some of the economic reasons for this. Cities are very expensive. If you live in a major city and you work in a major city, well, you don't need a car. And if you have a car, it's only for certain things. Maybe it's for fun, maybe it's for just getting away for the weekends or, going grocery shopping or things like that. But for the most part, the way city dwellers operate is they live in a city, they work in a city, they take public transportation, they ride bikes, they walk. It makes life a little easier. Except that cities are so ridiculously expensive now, and there was a massive inciting incident that occurred: COVID. Everyone left their cities because they were afraid that they were going to get sick, that they were in these large populations. This pushed people out of cities and into the suburbs. And they thought, well, once things cool down, I'll move back to the city. Except that just never happened because, well, the prices went crazy. The housing market is insane. And if you wanted to go back to the standard of living that you maybe had in the city, that was going to cost you so much more money, and it just stops making financial sense. So what do? You start settling down in the burbs where you live now, and you get yourself a car so you can drive to and fro work. Now, even the people who were within striking distance of public transportation that were using trains and buses and things to get to work, well, they got nervous too, because now they don't want to be on buses during COVID. People really adjusted their lives and their transportation methods based on COVID, and they bought cars. So then now you've got more people who are living outside of the city that need to commute into the city. They've bought cars. And then you've got people who even live in the city but don't want to be using public transportation anymore because they were thinking, well, this could be a little risky for my health. So they bought cars. And it never all went back, okay? So there was this really weird grace period. This is when you saw all those cannonball runs. There was no traffic. People were working from home, or things were simply shut down, so there was nowhere to go. But for a brief moment, it felt like there was this traffic reprieve. All the roads were empty. You could drive coast to coast without almost any encounters with people, and you were good to go. But once the world opened back up, everything got worse. There could be an entire video dedicated just to that phenomenon, but as we understand, now there's simply more cars on the roads. Now, I know that as a car enthusiast who's probably watching this video, you love cars. Everything cars, you eat, sleep, and breathe. So to you, a bus, a train, a bicycle, walking, that's all just literal pedestrian shit. You don't want to deal with that. That's not for you. And so when someone's saying, hey, we want to, go and spend more of your tax dollars on trains, you might scoff at that and thinking, I don't need that because I like driving. Well, here's the thing. You need to need that. You need to want that. You need to want to spend as much money as possible getting people off of the roads, out of their cars and into those trains or buses if you're a car enthusiast, because the less people who are driving the cars, the less traffic you're going to encounter on your day-to-day basis. I love the irony that car enthusiasts get mad at cyclists, especially like commuting cyclists. If you're in a city, you should be thanking every cyclist you see commuting to work, because that's one less car. Look at this. I live in the middle of nowhere. It's a Sunday at 1 p.m. and I'm still going to sit here waiting for a huge line of cars. This makes no sense. But what we need to be doing as enthusiasts is trying to get people off the road. So sometimes that means we're going to go even more rural here, because it seems like this isn't rural enough to get me out of Dodge. Speaking of Dodge, Durango behind me. I was driving a Durango Hellcat the other day. I was doing my normal test loop. And the thing is, I have evidence of how this works because I drive my test loop basically at the same time every day, okay, for years. And it's getting to a point where I sometimes have to try 2 or 3 times to get a large enough opening, a gap in traffic, to get an on-ramp to myself, or to get an empty Route 2 for an acceleration safely, right? I don't want to do this next to people. I don't want to be interrupting anybody. I just want to be by myself. And that used to be very, very easy. It's getting more and more difficult because more and more people were pushed out of cities, off of public transportation, and into cars. And the other side of this is those people don't even like cars. They don't want to be in cars. I know that you do not want to commute to work. I know that that sucks. I know how much stress that is. I've lived that life. It is not enjoyable. And even as someone who absolutely loves driving and loves cars, I dreaded waking up in the morning and even getting in my M3 just to slog through traffic and get to work. It takes a lot of your life. It's very expensive. And an hour or 2 a day in that car is kind of a bummer. Now, I don't know about you, but all of my older family, they're not necessarily major car enthusiasts, but they all had cool cars at one point. Kind of average people were driving essentially sports cars daily. And for today, if you were to say you daily drive, a 987 Boxster, that would start to seem a little extreme, which absolutely isn't. But this is the thing. Traffic is also impacting the market. It's also impacting what's being built and what we want to drive. Look at me. I am a massive car enthusiast. I have daily driven stick shift sports cars basically my whole life. And somehow I'm in a Lexus SUV now. It's no coincidence because the trial of getting into your sports car every morning just to sit in traffic is very difficult. It is not entertaining. And it really makes you question, why am I spending the money on this fuel? Or why am I spending the money on a car that handles so well when I could be in something that's comfortable and quiet and relaxing? I know that some of you are like, I don't care, I'll drive whatever I want, even if it's 8 miles per gallon. Good for you, do your thing, not trying to take that away from you. But when you factor in your commute as a financial obligation of your daily life, that's when the business case changes. Because it's one thing to say, I'm going to go take my 8 mile per gallon V10 supercar on a weekend cruise. It's another thing when you're like, my goodness, 5 days a week, I'm getting 8 miles per gallon on my way to work, a place I don't even want to go. And I'm going 25 miles an hour through traffic to get there. This is when you end up with a Prius. This is when even the most die-hard auto enthusiasts are like, maybe I go electric. And the real kicker is now that we have all these fast cars, we have the worst traffic. So it's like a be careful what you wish for thing, like a monkey paw in Goosebumps. I wish we had all these cars that could go 0 to 60 in under 4 seconds. Well, here you go. But now you're going to get on a crowded 3-lane highway and you're only going to be going 45 miles per hour in your ZR1 Corvette with 1,064 horsepower. This is torture. Now let's circle back to where we were a little while ago, where we're talking about more cars on the road. You'd think, well, all we need to do is increase capacity of those roads. And they do. This is basically the strategy of American infrastructure. Oh, that's too much traffic there. Let's add a lane. Oh, that's too much traffic there. Let's add a bridge. Oh, there's too much traffic. Let's make it easier for more cars to be there. And that will lessen traffic. And it does for like a minute. For like a minute, it lessens traffic. But this is just like getting a big house. Maybe you went from an 800 square foot apartment to a 2,500 square foot house. I guarantee in a few years, you will be like, man, do we need a storage unit? We're filling this house. The garage is packed. You can't fit the cars in there anymore. Your basement is stuffed to the gills. You will just utilize capacity. When you add capacity, you use it. And then that just translates into the same position you were in before because you have the same traffic issues on the road. And I was actually part of a study in Copenhagen in college. I went and lived in Denmark for a few months, and we shut down some roads in some major parts of town in Copenhagen. And it reduced traffic, like overall, and it encouraged more cycling, it encouraged more walking. The businesses initially were really nervous because they thought, oh no, like if these cars can't park here, will anyone come to shop? It turned out it increased everything. Like, it increased the businesses, it increased the foot traffic, it reduced the traffic of cars, and it objectively made it safer. But we don't really want to hear that, right? Because you think like, oh, they're going to put in congestion charges in New York, or they're going to do this and that. And that's just cumbersome because you're like, well, what am I supposed to do? It does require better public transportation though. And this is why I really think like enthusiasts should be the ultimate champions of public transportation, because if I want more empty roads, I want more people not driving. That's like my goal, right? I want to drive my sports cars on empty roads. I want to go for long highway cruises in my M5 at, alarming speeds and enjoy myself. And I do not want to sit in traffic hoping that my cooling system is going to hold up at 90-degree summer weather at 4 miles per hour on and off the clutch in first gear. That's a nightmare. That is like not fun at all. But what if there were like high-speed rail that got more people off of those roads? This is a new building. This looks really cool. What if those people were not driving? Every time I go to Logan Airport, I take the Logan Express. So I park in Framingham. It's away from the city. And I spend $9 to get on a bus with probably, 40 or 50 other people. And it takes me to the airport. I don't have to pay $75 a day for parking at Logan. That's a big incentive. But the other thing is that when I'm driving to the airport during rush hour mornings, it makes it so nice to feel like I'm contributing to making someone else's commute a little easier. Someone who didn't have the opportunity to take a train or a bus or something else, I'm doing my part to reduce that traffic. See, I told you it snowed here. It's crazy. It's mid-April. But more than just having some inconvenient commute or frustration that turns into road rage, which it does, I get very frustrated on the road, it is something that as an enthusiast, I really want to go and relax with a drive. And I found that harder and harder to do. Driving is very rarely that relaxing anymore, because every time I want to go somewhere, I have to sit in traffic. And the more exciting car I'm in, the more hardcore, the more raw, the more unreliable maybe, the more difficult that is. Because if I'm in a 1960s Jaguar E-Type, okay, which, they're notorious for overheating and stuff, maybe I need to get out to those rural roads, but I've still got to get out of the city. I've got to get out of where that car is parked. I might end up, we're not going to hit this squirrel. We're doing a good job today. That's 2 squirrels missed. I don't want to have to worry about the health of the car. The car might not even survive. And talk to your LA friends. LA has great car culture, but a lot of people drive sort of vintage cars. Ask them what it's like to sit in bumper-to-bumper traffic on the 405 in an MG, or in a car that they don't really trust to do those things. Like those cars are like sharks. They just want to move. They need to have airflow. And that means enthusiastic driving gets shrunk down to these like moments. Instead of like a fun little evening cruise in your top-down sports car from the 1960s or 70s, going out to get a cheeky ice cream with your honey, well, now that's frustrating and it's not fun, and the car might not survive that little drive. Now you've got to make plans for like a rally, like a vintage rally that's dedicated. So now you only drive that car like 3-4 times a year. You trailer it somewhere that's actually worth driving, and then you drive it. Like, that is a nightmare. So we have unfortunately put ourselves in a position where this, especially in the United States, it's a very car-centric place. It's very difficult. It is genuinely difficult to get away with not driving a car. People love to do these like cell phone detoxes where they say, oh, I'm not going to have a smartphone for all this time. It's going to try to impact my mental health. I'm not going to look at Instagram or anything. I'm just going to have like a T9 word flip phone, a dumb phone. Try to do that without a car in the suburbs. It would be so infuriating and frustrating. It would be so much easier to give up your iPhone than to give up your Lexus. It's so difficult to get around. It's so difficult to get groceries. It's so difficult to get to work. It's so difficult to even pick up your kids. But there are moments when you need to just decide, I'm going to take a different mode of transportation. And I think the one thing that I see a lot is when school buses are dropping off kids at the end of like a neighborhood, and I see a dozen cars parked along the neighborhood waiting for the bus, and then the little kids, they get off their buses and they trot to their cars, and then their parents just back up into their driveway. And I'm like, what is going on? Why can't these kids walk 100 feet to their house? The point is, every time you have the opportunity to take a car off the road, or when you've seen someone take a car off the road, by walking, by riding their bike, or being on a train, like, celebrate that, encourage that. Don't be pissed at the cyclist in the city, because that cyclist in the city is one less car that you had to wait on in traffic. And if there's 100 of them, that's 100 less cars, okay? Every time you see a bus loaded with people, that's like 100 cars not on the road. That's good. That's a good thing for you, because you're the one taking up the space on the road. You know, I'm a contributor to this problem right now. I'm a car on the road. All I'm saying is, yes, traffic is getting worse. Yes, it's impacting enthusiasts. And as enthusiasts, I genuinely think that if we can encourage people to be less distracted, and anytime you have the opportunity to take a car off the road for a specific trip, take advantage of it and celebrate it. Don't be mad at these people. Don't be mad at the bus for driving slow. They took 60 cars off the road. Don't be mad at that cyclist. He took a car off the road. Maybe it takes you 2 extra seconds to get around them, but that's one less car that you have to fight in traffic. So anyway, let me know your thoughts below. I'm really curious. I know enthusiasts get very, very hyped up about these types of things, and you know, more lanes, not always the answer, because we just fill it. The traffic, man, every time you get some seemingly miraculous reprieve in traffic because they added a bridge or a lane, or they changed the layout of something, boy, it feels so good for like 6 months. And then we're right back where we started from, and I'm sitting in the same traffic, and we spent $1 billion on pavement. So I'm going to sit in more traffic in my one-horse town, and now it just takes me forever to get anywhere. So thank you so much for watching, liking, commenting, and subscribing. Don't forget to respect the drive, and I'll see you in the next one.